Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Ready Set Bet from AG. Ready Set Bet, designed by John D. Clear, is a 2 to 9 player, real-time betting and racing game. I'm going to give you a brief overview of how this game plays and then tell you my thoughts and opinions on it, but this, more so than many other games I cover, this is very much one of those games you have to experience to truly see either how good of a game it is for you, or alternatively, if it's just not your type of game. But with that said, the general idea of this is it's a real-time betting and racing game. You see, what's going to be happening is you're going to have one player who's playing as not only the auctioneer, the racer, the announcer. They're basically rolling these dice and they're racing these horses along this track. That is their entire job. There is an app you can play with. I haven't used the app myself, so I can't comment on how that is, because honestly, this is one of those games where every time I've played it, there's always someone at the table who's happy to be the announcer. There's something about that part of the process itself that is usually engaging enough that somebody wants to be the announcer. So I haven't had a chance to see the app in play, but there is an app if you happen to be part of a game group that doesn't want somebody responsible for rolling the dice and moving the horses along this track. You see, what's happening is, as the announcer is rolling dice and moving horses, they're doing this in real time. You see, players are going to be given stacks of chips to bet. This is going to take place across 4 rounds of play. We're starting you off easy with the very first round. In fact, we're going to start you off easy with the bare bones basic premise of the game, which is you are gambling on which horses are going to be winning, coming in first, second, or third, or specifically which ones are winning, which ones are at least placing, or at least showing. Those are the 3 columns. There's a whole lot of numbers. We'll come back to that in a second. But what you need to know is you have your 5 chips. You need to decide where to place those chips while the person, the announcer, is currently moving those horses along the board. So, right now, ready, set, go, or ready, set, bet, I should say. We have number 7. Number 7 is going to be moving over here. Great, go ahead. We're going to keep rolling over here. We have 2 is moving. Oh my gosh, 2 is a move up over there. That is a big jump. 2, we can't expect 2 to keep moving up. We have 8 moving forward, charging forward on this track over here. 8 is making progress. You'd expect to see 7. 6 is making head, neck, and neck. It's a 3-way tie we currently have. We have 6 is going to jump again, but this, we're going to pause right now because now we have to tell you something new that you haven't yet seen. You are going to be rolling these dice utilizing dice probability. This is the 7 horse in the middle. You can see them on the horses themselves on the side, but basically the middle is a 7, and then it's 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11 and 12 on this horse together. That 7 over there, we go ahead and roll it. We got it there. We got that 6 over there, but we just rolled over here where we had rolled a second ago a 6. So we had 2 6s in a row. Now, whenever you get a number rolling twice in a row, you're going to be able to boost that horse. So in addition to moving 1, you look at the number on the left, and those numbers are higher the lower the probability of that roll. 7 is the most probable roll, then 6s and 8s, then 5s, then 9s, then 4s and 10s, onwards and so forth. But right now, because the 6 got 2 in a row, we're going to boost it by that 1. So it's going to go an additional spot over there. That's going to be part of the freneticness. Now, while the announcer is doing all of this, the players are in real time. All the players at the table are placing their bets. You see, you could start the game. Literally, the person could roll the first dice and you can go 5, 3, this. You can just throw out your numbers wherever you want and try to bet on whatever you want. The problem is that's blind betting. You're just throwing out your numbers based off of no information of how the race is going. Versus, if you were someone who had been holding on to your numbers right about now, you might, right about now, you're probably getting a little itchy. That 6 is pulling ahead. The probabilities have shifted. This is no longer a clean slate. This is no longer no horses moving forward and a complete statistical probability. Rather, the 6 is already pulled ahead, and in theory, the probability spread is still the same, so that 6 has a high chance of winning. Honestly, so does that 2 for that matter. So right now, maybe we go ahead and we taste our 5 immediately before somebody else can. We take our 5 and we place it on the 3 times for the 6. We're betting that the 6 is going to win, and if it does, it's going to pay out at a 3 times rate. That 5 is going to get me $15 back. That's the good news. But the horses are still racing and the downs are still going, and we say, we have a 9. 9's going ahead, charging forward. 9 breaks out the gate, first time over there. We have an 8. 8 is charging ahead, catching up with 6 for second place. And then we have 10. 10 shows up right behind 9. 9 showing up over here. And then we have 5. 5 is jumping ahead. And you could name your horses, by the way, Old Betsy, but that would be confusing. We have 3. 3 jumps ahead again. 2 to 3. It is jumping there right about now. You grab your 3, and with that slight boost forward, that 2 to 3 is now slightly ahead, you say at least it's going to show. Because if you can get that, you'll still get a 4 times payout out even for just showing because of how statistically less likely it is. We continue the announcement. We have 5 again, charging ahead a little bit, catching up right behind 6 over there. We have 11 for the first jump. We now currently have 4 in last place. 10 jumps forward over here again, pulling neck and neck over there with 8. We have 7, which you would expect to be ahead, is finally breaking forward. We have just 10 again. If only that had been 2 in a row, we would have got to the boost, but it didn't. We have 12 jumping ahead, neck and neck. That's 2 to 3 on the 12, both statistically. 10 again with those constant on and again, off again. We have 9 jumping forward, and again, this entire time, you are placing bets. You and the other players are placing bets. As the statistical probabilities shift, you're constantly placing out your numbers. The problem is there's 2 things that are incentivizing the panic. The first is which horses are pulling ahead. As you see a horse pulling ahead, you want to rush and get your numbers onto the board as fast as possible. The second thing is the other players. Whether it makes sense or not, you might have that 6 having a single jump forward. It's not enough to change all your odds for it, but as soon as other players start crowding, because you have a whole host of people around the table, and other players are rapidly throwing out their numbers, and you, in a moment of desperate panic, quickly grab that, whether or not you should have, because you see those 6s slowly being taken away. There's 1 chip per spot on this large board, and as you see spots being removed from other players, you realize you have to get in, and sometimes you jump in even when you shouldn't. That's the basic premise of the game. You are watching, in real time, the horses move up this track, utilizing statistical probability, but as you slowly roll the dice, the statistical probability turns into a combination of future probability and what has already happened. That information, combined with the panic around the table, is going to lead you to decide whether you're betting on who's winning, who's at least coming in second, and who's at least coming in third. From there, we have a whole lot more things to bet on. You're going to have betting on whether a blue horse wins, whether an orange horse wins, or whether a red wins over here, or whether 7 finishes in 5th or worse. These are all additional payouts you can jump to. You also have these prop bets. These are specific edge case situations that you can bet on as well. That the 4 is going to be higher than the 6. That's a 4 times payout over there. These red numbers are the cost of the bet. So whenever you have a red number, that's what you're going to have to pay on that bet. So you're trying to balance what you're paying, what the payout is. The prop bets are going to give you a bunch of these variable specific situations. 10's higher than 5. 11, 12 is higher than 9. And you can go ahead and place your numbers on those instead, and those will be shifting each round. You also have exotic finishes. Exotic finishes are specific, again, kind of edge case things. Here we have late start. At least 2 horses move 3 or fewer spaces. 3 people can bet on this card. It pays out at 4 times. And you have to have at least 2 horses that moved 3 or fewer spaces. That 3 over there, that's heavily at 4. The 4 over there is heavily contributing towards that. Who knows if that will actually move 3 or fewer spaces by the time you get to the edge of the race. Speaking of the edge of the race, once you have a 3rd horse crossing this red line, all bets are off. You can no longer place more bets once the 3rd horse passes the red line. And once a horse crosses to finish, that's when you determine everything as far as 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and all the other, well, these that happen along the way. Now you're slowly going to have more and more of these coming out each round, so you can be adding more exotic finishes, and then additionally at the end of each round you're going to be getting these VIP cards to the players that give you different abilities you can have. Over here we have piggyback bet. Once per race you may place your 3 bet token on a spot with 1 opponent's bet token. So you have that 3 you can hold on to as long as you want, well, at least until the 3rd horse crosses the red finish line. You'll have all kinds of different abilities. You'll have extra chips you're getting. You'll have side bets, complimentary chips, bonus bet tokens. All of these are extra things you hand out to the players, letting them choose their various VIP upgrades that give you a degree of developed asymmetry in what is basically a real-time racing betting game. That's the general idea of Ready, Set, Bet. The core basic premise here is panicked real-time racing and betting. The entire experience plays out in 30 minutes-ish as players frenetically across 4 rounds of play desperately try to time when they can get in on that horse, watching the panic develop, watching the information in front of you develop, all while you try to play across those 4 rounds and see who leaves the most cash-heavy at the end of the game. Which brings us to my review of what I like, don't like, and see others not liking, and I'll start by saying what I said at the beginning of this video. Ready, Set, Bet, for me at least, is a game that I recognize is probably a fun time. It is probably a fun time, but it took playing this game for me to move from, hey, I can see why people enjoy this, to, oh my gosh, what an experience this is. And I don't think that means that you're definitely going to enjoy this if you sit down and play it. Rather, I think it's one of those games where I will sit here and give you what I like, don't like. I'll give you all that stuff in a second, but I really think this kind of experience is almost an experience. This, to me, is more of an experience than it is a game. And to that end, it's a game, don't get me wrong, it's definitely a game, but it's an experience as much as it is a game. And to that end, I highly encourage you to actually try to experience it at some point or another to see if it's the kind of thing that works for you or not. This is before I get into anything I like, don't like, final thoughts. I just think it's worth trying. I think it's worth trying at some point or another and seeing if it's a game you might like. Separately from that, as far as my own opinion in it, as far as what I like under the game, it's absolute craziness. It's frenetic, real-time craziness with tons of people. It plays best at higher player counts. This is a game 2 to 9 players, but I don't think I'd touch it at less than 5 because it really gives you that best experience when you have the complete panic of the players around the table desperately trying to place their bets as fast as possible, watching the board slowly fill up, watching the horses move along. The levels of getting into the experience is so insane. Whether you are winning or losing, you will be yelling. Like, the amount of times I have been on my knees on the floor, like holding like onto thin air as I play a game. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened to me with Ready, Set, Bet. There's a degree of panic. There's a degree of infusing yourself into the moment. Again, winning or losing. You might be desperately watching that 8, trying to see if it will cross to the finish because you bet everything on 8. Alternatively, you might just sitting there losing already, but just watching 2 to 3 move up and being just championing like, oh my gosh, it's making it, it's making it. There's a degree of losing or winning where you're cheering for the craziness and the zaniness of everything that is happening here. The levels of complexity over here, the exotic finishes, the VIPs, the prop bets, all of those are nice things to take a good game, a game that is very much about the experience, and giving it additional layers to actually add to the reasons to dive back in. Your VIP cards, as you play across the course of the game, the things that make you special and different, that's going to lend itself to a different experience every single time, which you don't necessarily need because, again, this is very much about just the craziness of the experience. I think my first time playing this game, I don't think I placed a single prop bet. I placed over here, I placed some exotic finishes, I don't think I touched these or those. But as you dive into the game more, those will start to call out to you a bit more. You'll start experimenting with other things. The VIP cards from the very first game definitely add to it. I really like these. I think they add a lot of additional layers to the experience. But the general core premise of what this game is doing is it gives you a level of caring about an outcome, betting on the outcome, going crazy. I can't even imagine what this game would be like if you put real money on the line. Very little, don't do a lot. But like if you put a tiny amount of money on the line, I wonder what changes this game would bring to the experience. But it is fast-paced, frenetic, real-time mayhem in a way that no other game that I can think of gives me the type of experience that this does. Separate aspects, yes, I've gotten real-time craziness from Project Elite and Cyberpunk 2077, so if you just want that, sure. I've gotten betting craziness from other games as well, but if you're looking for straight up the combination of betting, of real-time, of rooting for your opponents as much as you're rooting for yourself, rooting for the moment in the experience over who wins, this game very much delivers that. The main thing I don't like about the game on a personal level is the components for the most part feel pretty cheap. Now there is a deluxe version that they had on crowdfunding. I have not seen that or played with it, but there's a deluxe version of the game that, I mean, I don't know what it has, so I'm not going to comment on what it adds, but I will say that for as good of a game as this is, the components for the most part feel cheap. The horse racing board feels small. The chips don't feel great. The art is very laid back in a way that I guess for this board does make it functional, which is nice, but everything just feels like a very subpar experience component-wise. It's the game that stands out despite all of that. As far as I can see, others not liking, this is real time. It's a real time game, it's a real time experience that's not going to be for everyone. Again, this is a game where I find myself yelling and shouting and getting in the moment because it's that kind of experience. But just because I've had fun with it, just because a lot of people have had fun with it, doesn't mean you'll enjoy the game. And then additionally, I don't think it's about winning. Yes, you're going to play to win. You should play to win. You should always play to win. And frankly, no game is about winning. But more so in this, it's really just about kind of living in the moment. Try to win, play to win, or the game won't work. But outside of that, luck is going to happen. This entire game is luck. This entire game is peer pressure and luck and real time. And if you are here for a strategy game where you're going to be paid off for strategy, no, this is 4 rounds of betting your odds on everything and hoping the odds roll in your favor, but also hoping you're able to call those odds before the other players who call those odds while also utilizing a handful of abilities. This is a crazy fun experience. Yes, I try to win, but it's very much not about winning, more so than other games aren't about winning. As far as final thoughts on Ready, Set, Bet, this is great. It's a great game. It's an experience unlike any other game that I have in my collection. Again, the combination of things that it does, the party game, the real time, the betting, the cheering for yourself, the cheering for others, all of that gives me an experience that is different than any other game that I have, and it's an experience that I enjoy thoroughly. It is not the kind of game that is going to frequently hit the table because I need to have a bunch of people at the table, and it needs to be that kind of night. It's not like you don't go from El Grande to Ready Set. Well, I guess you could go from El Grande to Ready Set Bet, but I don't think I would. This is really when you just have too many people want to have a good time and are ready to pull out an excellent game. For me, it's a 4.5 out of 5 in terms of being so good at what it's trying to do, specifically crossing party. It's a party game. It's mostly a party game, but it's a 4.5 out of 5. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, definitely check out Unicorn Fever. If you want that betting craziness, but you want to do so without the real-time freneticness, I think Unicorn Fever is the closest as far as the betting experience and the abilities and the things that mix it up, but it removes the real-time in a way that, for me, this is so much better. But if that's the thing that you don't enjoy, definitely check out Unicorn Fever. And then separately, if you want another very different party experience that will accommodate larger player counts in real-time freneticness, but a whole different genre, check out Captain Sonar for another very unique, not the easiest to table, but so worth it when you do kind of experience. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.